and welcome to everyone. I had a bit of technical difficulty, so I cannot see everyone, but I'm really glad you're here, or if you're watching the recording later, really great you're watching this presentation, this masterclass, I have to say. So, the upcoming half an hour, I would like to talk with you more about cognitive diversity. But before I go right to the content, let me um, give a bit more background about myself because you might not know me. Um, and Anna just introduced me by means of my favorite my favorite drink. But next to that, I have my own company, Sparkling Gems, and this is the company I founded during the pandemic because I think, like a lot of other freelancers, well, I was not a freelancer before I started this company. So I'm a hybrid entrepreneur. And the pandemic really made me think about what is really important in life and where do I want to contribute and how can I make a difference. And it felt to me like the pandemic was the cue I've been waiting for to finally start my own company and to work on my dream in creating a more equal society with equal chances for everyone. So there are different ways to do that, of course. And the way I've chosen to do that is by means of working on inclusive environments in organizations. So I've been working with small foundations, but also with larger corporates. I'm currently working for a municipality, and next to that, I do workshops. And being a hybrid entrepreneur is challenging, but it's also very fulfilling because I can work on my mission and my dream to really create a better life for others. So that's a little bit about myself, and I thought it would be nice to start off with an inspirational quote because I really like them. I hope you do too. And I want to share a quote with you from James Surowiecki. So he is an American journalist, and he wrote a book actually, Wisdom of the Crowds. And one of the things which he said is that why is actually cognitive diversity so essential? Well, he says in part because individual judgment is not accurate enough or consistent enough. Cognitive diversity is essential to good decision making. And this is the topic that we're going to talk with each other about today, cognitive diversity. So, what are our objectives for this masterclass today? Well, first of all, I would like to share with you the concept of cognitive diversity, at least the definition I use and how I see it. Of course, there can be different interpretations here as well. Secondly, I would like you to experience as well how cognitive diversity can cultivate creativity and innovation by using freelancers, so us, for instance. But also, there is a workshop format which is called the Magical Disney Rooms Plus method, which I would like to share with you because I think this is a great inclusive way of brainstorming with each other, which can be a challenge because not everyone loves to brainstorm. And thirdly, experimenting with embedding cognitive diversity in your daily life. So I understood we have half an hour, so we have 20 minutes left. Anna, is that correct?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay, so that will be good for me to keep in mind the time we have available. But let's first start off with the first topic. What is cognitive diversity? And please, if you have any questions or any remarks or would like some clarification on a certain topic, please feel free to unmute yourself and say so, or say it in the chat, and then Anna can help me addressing the question. Because as I said before, because of my technical issues, I cannot really see everyone, but feel free to unmute yourself. So I wanted to start off with this very interesting painting. And actually, it's a question for you because I wonder what it is that you see in this painting. Feel free to share by unmuting of typing in the chat. Colors, frogs. Yeah, frogs and birds.
I see some kind of God in the abundance of things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, those are all really great answers, and I think what uh, what these answers mean is that, let's say this is a very complex problem, but looking at it from different angles, we can actually get more insights, because some will see color, some will see a goddess, some will see a frog, some will see birds, some will see something completely different, an octopus or something. I don't know. It's there's an eye in there. There's so many different elements in there, and that's also really actually what cognitive diversity is about. It's about the different perspectives we can have from looking at a certain problem. And what it is that I'm sure that most of you will have heard of any iceberg. If it's the iceberg on the North Pole or another iceberg, there are many icebergs. So also within the landscape of diversity, there's an iceberg. And what you see on this slide is that, and I think this is probably known to you as well, that there are the obvious thing which you can see. And for instance, the things you can see by looking, the things you can see by hearing, the things, you can experience by being near someone. But there's also a lot under the iceberg. And that I have given there are some examples on this slide, like for instance, the work ethic which you have, the beliefs that you have, your definition of organizational attitudes and practices, the concept of justice. And cognitive diversity is actually really focused on the lower part of the iceberg, which is also the reason why, even though a lot of people agree that this is actually a great concept to use, that it's so difficult to implement. Because how can you bring what's underwater above water? It's not possible, or it's very limited possible. And also, so all of this was to bring you to the definition which at least I am using for cognitive diversity. It's a diversity on differences in perspective, as we saw from the painting with the bright colors as well, from insights, experiences, and thought patterns. So it's really about what's under the water. And what I find really interesting in this is that, because when we talk about diversity, we talk about, for instance, the wheel of diversity, or we talk about the different dimensions of diversity. And there is an overlap between, actually, let me go back a few slides. There's no overlap between what is above water and what is underwater, because if you are, for instance, if for instance you are originated from a different country, or you have moved a lot in your life, you will have different experiences. So the really interesting thing about cognitive diversity is that it is about what is under water, but there's also an overlap with what is seen above the water. If there are no questions, I continue with the second part. Are there any questions or clarifications, or someone has a different view? That's also possible, of course. Happy to have a discussion as well. No, I see nothing. So I continue with the second part. So if you now know what cognitive diversity is, so it's about a different perspective, different ways of seeing things, different ways of doing things. How can we use that to cultivate creativity? So again, I have here a little exercise. And let me give you a bit more context about it. So what you see here is Team A and Team B. And Team A, well, you know how they always in recruitment campaigns ask for the smartest, the brightest, the person with I don't know, three legs, like the impossible almost. So these people, all these round, these circles are representing people. So these are super smart people. Let's say that they're all Oxford scientists, for instance. Let's just by means of example. But then we have Team B, and Team B are different individuals. And these individuals have different skill sets as well, different experiences, different backgrounds. They come from different parts of the world, and they are all brought together to work on the same problem. So they're still scientists, but they're not all from Oxford. Let's say it that way. So, which team do you think is more successful in solving the problem? A or B? B? B, of course. I'm not sure. Oh, that's a B. Okay. So most people seem to be depends on the problem. Yeah, that's also a way of looking at depends on the problem. Yeah, that's a really interesting one. So it could indeed depend on the problem, because let's say that you take 10 random people from the street and you let them solve a problem. If this is a problem where they have the skills or they would have insight or knowledge to solve the problem, then it could be a successful team. But if it's about a topic which is totally out of their knowledge, their skill set, or their experience, not sure if the result is going to be that great. So it indeed depends on the problem. But speaking from a cognitive diversity point of view, Team B is more successful. And I will try to explain why as well, because the theory is that if you're looking for the brightest person for your team to um, to be more successful as a team, it will not work, because you're probably going to hire people who are either looking like you or who are the brightest, and then you will have a team of very bright people, but they will have sort or less the same skill set. So the theory of cognitive diversity is focused on teams, and getting the most successful team doesn't mean necessarily that everyone needs to have a degree from Oxford. It can be very beneficial to have a mix in that, because these different perspectives will really help in working on the problem and solving this problem. Is there anyone familiar with the Enigma code?
You mean from the World War II or the movie?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're familiar with it? So how did you find the movie?
Oh, I knew about it only through the movie. Unfortunately, I'm not that cultured in those questions. Well, it was spectacular. It was really fascinating.
Yes, and what's really fascinating is that that I think that they actually they recruited someone to crack this code, because the brightest people could not crack the code, but then eventually they found someone who was great in crosswords and puzzles and things like that, and who was able actually to help them with his skill set to crack the code. So I think that's also a great example of how cognitive diversity in practice can really work out well. But what you see happening, and I'm not sure if this is the same in the organizations you work for or you work with, but that still in our recruitment processes, we're still trying to focus ourselves so much on finding the brightest person who needs to have this super long list of skills, while no one actually asks, well, is that really actually what we need in the team? What are the skill sets in the team we need? And I think that this is a great opportunity for us freelancers. Um, Actually, because as a freelancer you bring a fresh perspective. So let's say you're this circle here, you're not in here. Well, it could be, of course, you never know, but probably you're bringing this fresh perspective, a new perspective to the company. You're not already embedded in the corporate culture, the culture of the organization. Of course, if you work as a freelancer somewhere for 10 years, you might be shifting more towards the corporate culture or the culture of the organization, I have to say. But also here, I think this is a great example of how we as freelancers can bring this different perspective to the table, to our clients, to our assignments, and add value in that way. And I found this article from HBR. and I will send you the link so you can also share it if you would like to, which also says that there is a correlation between higher cognitive diversity and performance. So what you see here is one, two, three, four, six teams, A till F, and you see the in the first column you see the performance, the minutes to complete the challenge. Well, you will see that team E and F, unfortunately, they failed. And then you see the standard deviation of the knowledge processing and the perspective. So the perspective is like the different views the people in the team are representing. And the knowledge processing is about if you're open to new information or if you rely on known techniques which you have used, for instance, in the past. So what you see, the higher the standard deviation in the team and the higher the standard deviation in the perspective, the better the teams performed because they were complementing each other with different teams, with different insights. Now, of course, this is theory, and this is an experiment which they did. Um, what they don't always tell you is that, of course, it is great to have a team with a lot of different perspectives, but it's also a bit difficult. And this is what I see in my work, where a lot of people find it difficult to talk about diversity because it's about stepping out of your own comfort zone, about having a conversation with someone with a different view. And we all know it's so nice to talk with someone who has the same views as you have, who is confirming and affirming what you are saying. But actually, you have to find these more uncomfortable conversations to really get out of the comfort zone, to see actually a new perspective. And this is something that cognitive diversity can bring to you, and which you as a freelancer bring as well. So this masterclass, of course, is a part of the future of work. And I think it was 2 months ago or 1 month ago that I wrote this article about the future of work and also the different trends. So I will not talk about that today because it's in the article in case you're interested. But in the article, it's also about a hybrid workplace and cognitive diverse team as the two key levers in the future of work. And I think there were some sessions about hybrid workplaces as well, right?
Yeah, we talked about the topic in one way or another, but I'm dropping the link right now.
And then I told you that we're going to experience, and it is a bit more difficult to experience it virtually. But I'm going to try my best by giving you a very, very quick teaser of the magical Disney room, because this is one of the techniques which I told you about. And why did I choose this one? Because Disney is universal, so everyone knows its brand. And I learned this actually in my student year, and I found it a really interesting technique and method. And so let's say that there are different challenges on inclusion. And I'm going to share with you how the technique works in just a bit. But let's say that you have different challenges on inclusion and diversity. I wrote some here, but actually, it's much more interesting to have a real life example. So, is there actually anyone who wants to share from their perspective what challenges they are facing when it comes to diversity or inclusion?
I think I might feel, yeah, Elena is mentioning stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
I have similar, let's say, both the stereotypes towards me for, let's say, my background or who I am, but also towards other people. Like I'm really scared to stereotype
Mm-hmm.
people, you know, for lack of, let's say, knowledge or cultural education. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, you're talking about unconscious biases because stereotypes fall within the field of unconscious biases. So you feel that sometimes people can have an unconscious bias towards you, but you also feel that you can have unconscious biases towards others. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so let's just take that as an example. So how can we be more aware about unconscious biases? I think this accounts for everyone because everyone has unconscious biases. 95% of our behavior is based on heuristics about ways of the things we're doing, and it takes a really, really long time to become more aware, and 100% is not really possible. So let's say that we want to work on our unconscious biases. How can we be more aware about our unconscious biases? And so I would say, well, let's do the magical Disney Room Plus method. And don't be overwhelmed, but this is the magical Disney Room Plus method in a nutshell. It consists actually of three different rooms. So if you would do this real life, you could do, for instance, in a room, three different parts. It's also a really great technique to do with clients if you have a certain problem to solve. And then if you do it virtually, you can use, for instance, Miro or another whiteboard tool. But in the first stage, you're going to define the problem. So why is this a problem? Because we want to be able to work better together. We want to be able to better perform, to be more creative, be more innovative, to show our value as a freelancer, to show our value as being a part of the team. So in the first room, we're really going to think about ideas. So what ideas can we fantasize? And I want to propose do it really quickly with each other to see what kind of ideas we can use the wisdom of our crowd to see what kind of ideas we would have to become more aware about our own unconscious biases. Could you please share some ideas in the chat if you have some ideas? How can you as a person become more aware about your unconscious biases? Maybe you've had some training in this field, and maybe you watch a great TED talk, or I don't know, maybe you have an agreement with your housemate or someone who is close to you, who you will pay a penny or a euro or a dollar or whatever every time you make a certain mistake where you want to work on. And these are my examples, but I'm sure that you will have some too. Is there anyone who wants to share what kind of ideas you can fantasize?
My approach to it was a bit long term. Like I restarted learning history, and I want to go back also to religion because, for example, in my team, one of the teams I'm working in, we have people from all over the globe, and I
Mm-hmm.
understand
Mm-hmm.
that I might like just cultural knowledge there.
Mm-hmm.
Elena says no training from her side, but
Mm-hmm.
trying to put labels on people I barely know, on people I know too.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great example. So I think if I understood you well, what you told us is that it's about educating yourself, about getting in touch with different people. The six thinking hat theory of Edward de Bono. Thank you, Philip. Indeed, this technique is similar to that one. So it's similar technique. Yes, thank you. And so there are indeed different things you could do, and what you could also do, we have I think I read somewhere that we have this huge platform where we can reach out and network with each other. So reach out indeed, and probably you've already done that, but reach out to someone. What I always do, let me give an example for myself. What I try to do if I'm in a meeting is I and not to put people in a weird space or anything, but I try to involve the people who seem least talkative or least dominant, because what I notice is that those are most of the time the observing people with the really smart insight and ideas, but for some reason they don't always feel comfortable sharing. Or if I'm in a meeting, I try to look at the person who looks least at me. At least I think so. And then I'm like, well, this is interesting. This is actually how I can become, more aware about other people with different ideas around me. And so and I see also open and honest conversations. Yes. And then the problem is that a lot of times in a lot of organizations, there is not enough time to really have these conversations. So let's say then that together with the team, we have fantasized a lot of different ideas, and of course, doing this exercise, we will have more time, and it will be totally in the magical Disney room atmosphere. Then in the second room, you're going to talk about the realist phase, like how can we do it? How does the plan look like? What is the criteria? So you're going to be in the project manager mode. And then after that room, you're going to the third room, is the spoiler. And here you're going to play devil's advocate because you've chosen an idea, but why could this idea not work? It's about killing your darlings. What could go wrong? How can you refine it, improve it, or reject it? Now, you probably see that there's a plus because I did not invent this method myself, but there is a plus, and that's because what I do in this workshop format is that I put energizers in front of every room. So before the dreamer, I do something sporty so people can feel more free. In the realist phase, I'm going to do something where you have to become more in a more methodological mindset. And with the spoiler, I'm going to do a little bit like some kind of debate to really get you in the mindset of that. And this is I think a working format, just like the six thinking hats, which you can use as well to really profit from the cognitive diversity of your team. So how can you use it in your daily life? And I also I heard my alarm going off, so we're a bit out of time. I think boost problem solving, and we already had some examples just now. Psychological safety, it's very important. Um, you see this also with people who are new in organizations, and maybe with yourself as well. If you're new in an organization, that do you feel safe to express your opinion? And do you feel safe to share if you see some problem at your clients? Is there an opportunity to address them? Psychological safety is crucial in these discussions. um, Eliminating group thinking. So this is where we as a freelancer can really play a big role, because in any organization or team there will be a certain culture, but with a fresh mind and a fresh perspective, you can make people more aware, because that can be their unconscious bias as well, the group culture which they have there. A shadow board, this is something which a lot of organizations do when they want, for instance, to have fresh perspectives, or a young shadow board with young employees. And sharing is caring. I think we already talked about that the power of networking, of reaching out, of educating yourself, of being more aware about different cultures, and of course, investing in D&I. It's a no-brainer, but I have to say, in the Netherlands, we are just scratching the surface here. Yeah, I want to close off with a book tip, because, and I realize it's in Dutch, but this is actually a British writer. I have the Dutch version. His name is Matthew Syed, and he wrote the book Think Like a Rebel. And a lot of the theories I have myself about cognitive diversity come from this book, and I think it's a really great book, because it's a little bit on the edge, so it can feel a little bit uncomfortable now and then. He writes, for instance, about 9/11, and we all know, that well, we all know what happened in there. And he also writes how cognitive diversity could have prevented what happened at 9/11, as an example. So if you're interested and he gives a lot of other, for instance, the Enigma case, and a lot of other different stories. So if you're interested, there is an English version, obviously, because it's an English book. But I can really recommend it. It has really helped me in seeing things in a broader perspective, and understanding cognitive diversity a bit better. Actually, I love this book so much that I even took it with me to a photo shoot. Yeah, and this is what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that you found it useful and informative, and that I have hopefully made you think about the topic of cognitive diversity, of the challenges you're facing yourself, but also the solutions you can bring to the table. If you would like to discuss some more, feel free, please, to reach out to me. Would be happy to have some more thoughts about you and discussions.